Hello children, good morning. Today I am your physics tutor, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Ramakrishnan. Today I am going to cover the chapter Magnetism and Matter. Before that, quickly let me tell you how to access the Class 6 NEET revisions and the physics questions for practice. Go to classix.com. This is our home page. Click on to the practice. You have several packages. You can select NEET Premium. So there you can see the revision notes. Click on that. So basically revision notes are nothing but the important concepts and formulae you'll have to know in the NEET exam point of view. So we have done for physics, chemistry and biology for all the exams, especially for NEET exams. We have done chapter wise, right from the first chapter to the last chapter, which covers for both class 11 and class 12. You can make sure of all the concepts and the important formulae you'll have to know. Make yourself thorough with the concepts, and then you can take the physics tests, which you have. I'll come to the later part. Now quickly let us go through the lesson Magnetism and Matter. Magnetism and matter, these are the concepts which you'll have to know, must know. Magnetic dipole moment M is equal to M into 2L. Force between two magnetic poles in air F is equal to mu0 by 4 pi into m1 m2 by r square. Magnetic field strength at a point on axial line of a bar magnet B1 is equal to, axial line means it is now going to be along the line, the magnetic field when it is going to act along the bar magnet. So that is equal to mu0 by 4 pi into 2 md by d squared minus L squared the whole square, where mu0 by 4 pi is now going to be a constant, and 2, this capital M stands for magnetic moment. D is now going to be the distance. If the magnet is short, then L squared is very much lesser than D squared. So we can neglect that. In that case, it now becomes V1 is equal to mu0 by 4 pi by 2 m by d cube. Now listen children, this D squared, D is nothing but the distance at which the point is now going to be placed. And this L is now going to stand for the, this L denotes the length of the magnet. Magnetic field strength at a point on equatorial line of a bar magnet B2. Equatorial line in the sense it is now going to be not along the magnet, but it is now going to be at a point vertically above the magnet, you can say. So that is the equatorial position. So the magnetic field strength is given by mu0 by 4 pi into m by d squared plus L squared the whole raised to the power 3 by 2. Suppose the magnet is short, then L squared is very much lesser than D squared, then V2 is equal to mu0 by 4 pi into m by d cube, where m stands for the magnetic moment and d stands for the distance at which, distance of the point from the magnet. For short bar magnet, V1 by V2 is equal to 2, or V1 is equal to 2V2. Magnetic moment of a current loop. So in the case of a current loop, it is now going to be NIA, where N stands for the number of turns, I is the current, and area A is the area. Next, what is the torque? Torque of acting on a magnetic dipole and potential energy of a dipole in a magnetic field. Now you all know torque is nothing but a perpendicular force which is now going to be acting at the two ends. So that is given by torque tau is equal to mb sin theta, where m stands for the magnetic moment and b is the magnetic flux or strength, and sin theta. Theta is going to be the angle between the field and the bar magnet. And the potential energy U is given by minus mb cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. So again, this has the usual meaning. U is the potential energy, m is the magnetic moment, and the B is now going to be the magnetic field, or the magnet. Yeah, P is the magnetic field. Magnetic elements of Earth. Now you all know that Earth is a big magnet, supposed to be a big magnet because it has got the force of attraction. So now we can consider the Earth. When you consider the Earth as a magnet, obviously it has got a declination, angle of declination, theta, which is now given, which is equal to the angle between the magnetic meridian and the geographical meridian. So angle between the magnetic meridian and the geographic. So Earth has got its own pole, and the magnet which we consider, that is now going to have its poles. So the angle between these two is now going to be the angle of declination, which is represented by theta. Horizontal component is given by H is equal to R cos delta. Delta is now going to be the angle made by the horizontal component with the along the axis, with the axis. Okay, so R cos delta. And the vertical component is given by R sin delta, where R is the resultant of these two. That is the horizontal and the vertical component. R is now going to be the resultant of these two. So in you can also say R is equal to root of H squared plus V squared. And tan delta is equal to V by H, where V is the vertical component and H is the horizontal component. When vertical plane carrying magnetic needle is turned through theta degrees, the apparent value of dip is given by tan delta dash, which is equal to V by H dash. Now, when it is turned through a degree, theta, obviously the value of dip, where we know the dip is going to be represented by delta. Remember children, I told you delta is nothing but the angle made by the components along with the axis. Okay, that is called as the angle of dip, and it varies from place to place. It is not going to be the same. It is now varies from place to place on all places on Earth. So, so when we turn the magnetic needle through an angle theta, then the apparent value of dip is given by tan delta dash is equal to V by, because the H dash, H is now going to differ. So the new H can be given as H dash represented by H dash. So tan delta dash is equal to HV by H dash, which is equal to V by H cos theta, where H dash is equal to H cos theta, or we can simply say this is equal to tan delta by cos theta. Or V by H, you know, is nothing but, already we saw it is tan delta. So we can say tan delta, V by H is can be written as tan delta. So tan delta by cos theta. Next is the neutral points. When magnet is placed in with its north pole towards the south of the Earth, the neutral points lie on the axial line of the magnet such that B1 is equal to mu0 by 4 pi into 2md by 4 pi d squared minus L squared the whole square. That is now going to be the H. That is represented by H, where you know M is now going to be the magnetic moment, D is the distance at which the point is considered, and L is the length of the magnet. This is now going to be the horizontal component H. When the magnet is placed with its north pole towards N of the Earth, the neutral point lie on the equatorial line of the magnet such that V2 is equal to, so you can as well compare this with the equatorial position and the we were talking about the equatorial position and the you can see here, see the equatorial position and the axial line, right? You can compare that to this. Okay, so that will give you, when the magnet is placed with its north pole towards N of the Earth, then the neutral pole or the neutral point lies on the equatorial line of the magnet such that V2 is equal to mu0 by 4 pi into m by d squared plus L squared to the power of 3 by 2 is equal to H. See, we saw this here, remember? See, along the axial line. So the same thing can be applied for this also, where you consider for the Earth also, you can take this as the H. So you can take this, you can, which is very much analogous to the axial position and equatorial positions, which we learned earlier. That can be applied here also for the neutral points. Tangent law, tangent galvanometer, F is equal to H tan theta, or I is equal to K tan theta, where K is equal to H by G, which is equal to H by mu 0 n by 2R, which is equal to 2RH by mu 0 n, where H is the horizontal component, mu 0 is the permittivity, and n is going to be the number of turns. So using this value, generally K value will be given mu 0 because it's going to be a constant, and R is going to be the radius. So generally this is now, this G stands for the galvanometer constant. This is generally, or in general you can say K itself is a galvanometer constant, which is given, which is going to be constant for a particular galvanometer. So the value of K will be given, and using that you can calculate with the angle of inclination theta, you can now find out the the current. So with this, we have completed the important formulae and concepts which you'll have to learn in this particular chapter. Now we'll go to the test. Now we have tests for physics, chemistry, biology, and the NEET full tests also. We have around 117 tests for physics. We have chapter-wise tests. The blue bubble says you have not taken the test. The green bubble states that you have taken the test. Even if you have taken the test, you can take it any number of times. And R is a random test. And yellow bubble says it is the incomplete test. So you can take the test again and again until you are thorough with the concepts and you are happy with the results. Once you are done with all the chapters, with all the concepts and the formulae, then you are confident enough. Then you can go to the needful tests. There again we have the needful tests, around 37 tests. You can again make use of those tests. There again you can go attempt any number of times and then make yourself thorough with the test before your exams. Now let us go to the magnetic wave, magnetism and matter. I'm taking the test. Take the test. Oh, not the student. It's an incomplete thing. Let me do this again. Yeah. All right. The first question says, a positively charged particle projected towards north is deflected towards west by a magnetic field. The field may be, again children, before going into the test, let me tell you, the weightage for this particular lesson is only 1%. So you can expect one question or no questions from this, but we cannot we can't take it for granted that no question will be appearing from for the test. So let us get prepared for the what if that one question comes from this lesson. So we have to be prepared for that also, for that one question also. So if it is not great as well and good, okay. So but if that one question is asked, we have to crack it out. So let us get prepared. It's a very easy lesson with limited number of concepts and limited number of formulae. So you can make yourself quickly thorough with those formula and then attend the test. Now look into this. A positively charged particle projected towards north is deflected towards west by a magnetic field. The field may be towards south, towards east, downward, upward. All right. Now we have to use the Fleming's left-hand rule. You all know Fleming's left-hand rule. Take your middle finger, forefinger, and the thumb, stretch them mutually perpendicular to each other. Now you know the thumb represents the motion, the middle finger the magnetic field, and the forefinger the electric field. So using this you can see that now he says the positively charged particle is projected towards north. Okay, it's towards north. That means the field points, you know, the field, your middle finger points the field and the thumb towards the north. So you can see the thumb is now going to, so no, this is going to be the north, means then it is now going to be the upward direction. So it is now going to be, D is going to be the correct option. So you can stretch all the 3 fingers in your left hand and you can decide which is the correct answer. Okay. Now coming to the second question. A copper wire of diameter 1.6 millimeters carries a current I. The maximum magnetic field due to this wire is 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Tesla. Find the value of I. All right. Here, the diameter is given 1.6 millimeters. So you have to convert it to meters. And then the magnetic field B is given. So let's quickly solve that. So you know that B is equal to mu 0 I by 2 pi r. Now you know the value for mu 0 by 2 pi, mu 0 is 4 pi into 10 to the power of minus 9. We don't know I, divided by 2 pi into r is given as 1.6 in 10 to the power of, so millimeters, so we need to convert it. So 1.6 in 10 to the power of minus 3. That is a diameter, so divided by 2. So this 2 and 2 gets cancelled, pi gets cancelled. So, and the value for B is given as 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3. So you can equate this to this. So after simplification, we can see that I is equal to 20 amperes. Let's see which option is correct. 20 amperes, B is correct. Save that, go to the next. An electron is moving along positive x-axis. A uniform electric field exists along negative y-axis. What should be the direction of the magnetic field, which is a constant, so that the force on the electron is 0? So what should be the magnetic field so that the force on the electron is 0? All right. The direction of the magnetic force must be opposite to the direction of the electric force. Or you can say that minus k vector plus I vector is equal to minus j vector. Minus k vector plus, so I'm sorry children, minus k cap cross I vector is equal to minus. Okay, you know, I cross k is j. Sorry, k cross I is j. So now we have minus because it's now going to be the opposite. So we'll have to take it as minus k. So minus k cross I will be minus j. So the magnetic field is the negative z axis. So it will produce a force in the negative y-axis, which is now going to, so you know, j represents the y-axis. So it is now going to be negative j. That means it is now going to be in the negative y-axis, but which opposes the force due to the electric field. So let's see which option is correct. So negative y-axis, option y is, so the force, it produces a force which is now going to be in the negative y-axis, which opposes the force. All right. So this is now going to be negative z-axis. Okay. So what should be the direction of the magnetic field? So the magnetic field should be negative z-axis. Okay. So save that. Go to the next. Magnetic moment of an electron in the nth orbit of the hydrogen atom is given by what? So magnetic moment of an electron in the nth orbit of the hydrogen atom is what? This is quite easy. Let us solve this. Now you know magnetic moment is given by E by 2m, and angular momentum is given by nh by 2 pi. So magnetic moment into angular moment will give you, when you multiply both, you get it as NEH by 4 pi m. NEH by 4 pi m. So option B is correct. So B is correct. Save that. Go to the next. If a magnetic needle is kept in a non-uniform magnetic field, it experiences a force but no torque, a torque but no force, both torque and force, neither torque nor force. All right. When you keep a magnetic field, when a magnetic needle is now kept in a non-uniform magnetic field, now the two poles of the needle will now experience unequal force. So something like this you can see. So a force like this. So if this is now P is now going to the point, you have two forces, F1 here and F2 here. So it is now going to experience a unequal force. That means it is now going to have also the force acting on the needle produces a turning effect torque. So the turning effect torque can be experienced by the needle. So it has both torque and force. So C should be the correct option. Coming to the sixth one, a paramagnetic substance is kept in a weak magnetic field and its absolute temperature T is increased. As a result, its magnetization increases in proportion to T, decreases in proportion to 1 by T, or inversely proportional to says increases in proportion to T squared or decreases in proportion to 1 by T squared. Let's see this. Now, magnetization I is equal to lambda H. Lambda H. Where, for a paramagnetic substance, lambda is inversely proportional to the absolute temperature T, or from 1 and 2, we get I is proportional to 1 by T. So option B is correct. Save that. Go to the next. A bar magnet of a magnetic moment 4 ampere meter squared is free to rotate about a vertical axis through its center. The magnet is released from rest from east-west position. Kinetic energy of the magnet in the north-south position will be 1. Okay. Let us quickly solve this. Now, loss of potential energy is given by loss in potential energy is given by delta mb cos theta. Delta mb cos theta. So, which is equal to, all the values are given. So, you can take it as 4 into 25 into 10 to the power of minus 6, which is nothing but 10 to the power of minus 4. 10 to the power of minus 4 joules. Yes, save that. Going to the 8th one. The force experienced by a pole of strength 100 ampere meter at a distance of 0.2 m from for a short magnet of length 10 centimeters and pole strength 100 ampere meter on its axial line. So look, you are making use of the formula here. So had you been thorough with the formula from the NEET revision test which we had given, then it should be pretty easy for you to apply here. So it's going to be very easy. Now we know that F is equal to M times B, which is equal to, so it is axial line. So mu 0 by 4 pi into 2 M dash L by, since it is small magnet, you can take it as directly there. In the NEET lessons, we had taken it as x. You can take it as x squared or x cubed or d cubed into M. Having known all the values, we can now substitute. So 10 to the power of minus 7 into 2 into 100 into 0.1 into 100. Sorry, children, I'll do it again. It's scribbling. Let me write it first. Okay. So F is equal to MB, which is equal to mu 0 by 4 pi into 2 m dash L by d cubed into m. So having known all the values, it's going to be direct substitution. 10 to the power of minus 7 into 2 into 100 into 0.1 into 100 divided by 8 into 10 to the power of minus 3. When you simplify, you get the value to be 2.5 into 10 to the power of minus 2 newtons. Let's see which option is correct. 2.5. Option A is correct. Save that. Go to the 9th question. A ring of mass m, radius r, having charge q is uniformly distributed over it and free to rotate about its own axis is placed in a region having a magnetic field B parallel to its axis. If the magnetic field is suddenly switched off, the angular field acquired by angular velocity acquired by the ring is 1. All right. This is actually, the question seems to be a complex thing, but it's actually very easy. See, a ring of mass m, radius r, having charge q is uniformly distributed over it and free to rotate about its own axis. And now it is placed in a region having a magnetic field B parallel to the axis. So if the magnetic field is suddenly switched off, then the angular velocity acquired by the ring is 1. All right. So now you know integration of EdL is equal to minus of d phi by dt. Since it is a circular coil, we can now take it as pi r squared into, it is now going to be placed in a magnetic field, so dV by dt. Now you know lambda is equal to q by 2 pi r. There is a radius where r stands for the radius. That is now going to be the charge per unit length of the ring. So the net torque is now going to be given by N is equal to integration of lambda E dL. So now the angular momentum, you know, is now going to be angular momentum is equal to I omega, which is nothing but integration of N dt. Now you can solve both the equations, or you can equate both. So from this you get I omega is equal to R lambda I r squared b. I r squared b. Or from this you can substitute. So r, you can substitute for the value for lambda. Then that gives you r pi r squared b by 2 pi r is equal, sorry, 2 pi r capital R is equal to m r squared omega, sorry, q. Yeah. So from this we get cancelling all the values, and finally you get omega to be equal to qb by 2 pi. So qb by 2 pi, let's see. qb by, sorry, qb by 2m, right? 2 pi. Yeah, pi and pi gets cancelled. Yeah. So that will give you omega is equal to qb by 2m. 2m children, not this one. So because pi and pi gets cancelled, finally you'll be left with 2m. Yeah. So you can see that option C is correct. Yeah. Save that, go to the next. The 10th question. An electric current I enters and leaves a uniform circular wire of radius r through diametrically opposite points. A charged particle Q moving along the axis of the circular wire passes through the center at a speed v the magnetic force acting on the particle which passes through the center is what? Now you can see that the current is now going to enter. The electric current enters and leaves the uniform circular field of radius r through a diametrically opposite points. Okay, so the charge particle Q, which is now going to move along the circular Y, will pass through the center. Now we can see entry is and exit is from 2 points. Okay, so the magnetic force acting on the particle which it passes through the center is now going to get nullified. So D is the correct option. It's going to be 0. Now going on to the 11th one. Yeah. The charge particle moves in a circular path in possible electric and magnetic fields. Which of the following scenarios is possible? Okay. Now, he says E is equal to 0, B is equal to 0. And E is equal to 0, B is equal to 0. Then E is equal to 0, B not equal to 0, E not equal to 0, B is equal to 0. And then E not equal to 0, B is not equal to 0. Here, you can say that the charge particle will now undergo a uniform circular motion in a constant magnetic field, right? So that means, yeah, it's going to be constant. That means E also is 0, whereas B will not be equal to 0. So option B is correct. Save that, go to the next. Next. A circular loop of radius r carrying current I lies in the xy plane with a center at the origin. The total magnetic flux through the xy plane is what? Now, look at the question carefully. A circular loop of radius r carrying a current I lies in the xy plane. So that loop is now lying in the xy plane with the center at the origin. So the total magnetic flux through the xy plane is what? You can see that no magnetic lines cross the plane of the coil. So it does not cross the xy plane as the coil lies on this plane. Okay, so you can say it will be 0. So the total magnetic flux is going to be 0. Okay, so that is next. The 13th one. The dimensions of B squared, C squared, R squared by 2 mu 0, where B is the magnetic field, R is the resistance, and C is the capacitance, R, ml to the power of -1. So let us quickly solve this dimensionally. Okay, so B squared by 2 mu 0 is equal to energy by volume, which gives you the energy density. Okay. Energy density. So that is equal to ml to the power of -1, t to the power of -2. So when you substitute for energy and volume and simplify, you get it to be ml to the power of -1, t to the power of -2. Now next take for R squared and C squared. So this is nothing but they are now respect to times, he says. So time squared, which is equal to t squared. So multiply 1 and 2, you get simply ml to the power of -1. So let's see which option is correct. Option A is correct. So dimensionally it should be ml to the power of -1. Go to the 14th one. Relative permittivity and permeability of a material are epsilon r and epsilon mu r respectively. Which of these which of the following values these quantities are allowed for a diamagnetic material? For a diamagnetic material, you know that for a diamagnetic material, so diamagnetic, 0 lesser than mu r lesser than 1. And for any material, epsilon r is greater than 1 for any material. So, which should be the correct option? From the two, you can see that B should be correct because epsilon r is 1.5 greater than 1 and this should be yes. Yes. See that? Go to the 15th one. Suppose a magnet is suspended by a vertical spring attached to a middle point. Given that the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is 25 microtesla and the vertical component of Earth's magnetic field is 40 microtesla, find the position in which the magnet can stay in equilibrium. Oh, children, just wait. Let me go to the last question. The time was up, so that is why. So you have a time limit for this, children, so that is why it got over. Yeah, we were doing the 15th one. Suppose a magnetic field is suspended by a vertical string attached to its middle point. Given that the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is 25 microtesla and the vertical component of the Earth's magnetic field is 40 microtesla, find the position in which the magnet can stay in equilibrium. This is, even though it seems to be complicated, it's a very easy question. Now you know the vertical component of Earth. Now, you had you been thorough with the NEET revision test which we had given, sorry, NEET revision tests, revision notes, had you gone through it several times and make thorough of the formula, then it is going to be easy for you. So the vertical component, you know, B is given by BB. Let me put as BB as B sine theta into I. Okay. So BH is the horizontal component is B cos theta into I. So BV by BH is equal to B sine theta into I by B cos theta into I. So that gets cancelled, BV gets cancelled, I gets cancelled. So tan theta is equal to BV by BH, right? So now the value is given as tan theta is equal to BV is given as 40 and for BH it is given as 25. So substitute. So this implies theta is equal to so 8, 5, 5, 8 are 45, 5 are 25. So tan inverse of 8 by 5. Okay. Tan inverse of 8 by 5. Let's see. Yeah. Tan inverse of 8 by 5. Right. So that's easy. So while selecting the options, you'll have to be very careful. See, sine inverse of 8 by 5 is also given. So in a hurry, you should go to and tap that option. It is going to be tan inverse of 8 by 5. So select the correct option. So be careful with your selection also. Okay. So save that. So we have ended the test. You can see the results. Yeah, since we came down again, it is showing a different thing. Now you can see the yellow ones says that it is unanswered. So already we answered all the questions in the previous thing. We came to the test again and did it. So that is why that happened. So question 15 was correct. Suppose if it had been an incorrect answer, then that would show you a red color. So if you want to verify the answer where you went wrong, say for example, I'm going to the 10th question. See, an electric current, the correct answer is going to be 0. So electric current I enters and leaves a uniform circular wire of radius R through diametrically opposite points. See, there is now going to be the entry and exit at 2 different points. So you can say that charges are now going to get nullified. So let us see the option what is given. So correct answer is 0. Let's see what is the current is entering and exiting from 2 diametrically opposite points of a circular wire. So the currents in the 2 semicircular sections are now in the opposite direction. So the field due to the semicircular sections at the center is in the opposite direction. So then which is now going to be equal but opposite. So the net field is now going to be 0. So option D was correct. Likewise, you can scroll and see the explanation part also and make sure where you went wrong, which concept. So understand the concept. We have explained the question, the answers also in a conceptually, and where you can be thorough with the concept also. Okay, so this is very, very important, children. So you can as well learn from these tests. Close that. You can go back. You can take the test again and again until you are thorough with the concept. So with this, we have come to an end to this with this lesson. So is there anything